Today we have a much awaited comparison for you guys. Kia Seltos HTK Plus Honda Elevate ZX manual transmission. This is also manual. Now this we could only get the HTK Plus variant, but we are gonna compare it with the HTX side by side. Starting with the headlights of the Kia Seltos, we get an LED DRL. Then we get halogen indicator projector setup for headlights, which is halogen. Now we get halogen fog lamp, but in the HTK variant, if we compare it to the ZX manual transmission, in the HTK variant we have ice cube shaped LED fog lamps, which Kia like to call them ice cube shaped, and this whole setup is LED and the indicator is LED as well. Now talking about the grille, it gets null finish on the chrome lining and also the tiger nose grille. Finish is matte here, but in the HTKs again you get a glossy finish. Let's talk about the tires of the Kia Seltos. It gets alloy wheels. The tire size is 205/65 R16 and they are using Goodyear tires on this variant, but in the HTX we get 17-inch wheels with diamond cut alloys. Now talking about the rear tires, we don't get any rear drums, we don't get any rear disc, we only get drums. Same with the Honda Elevate. Let's talk about the LED tail lights. Here we get halogen and the indicator setup is also halogen in the HTK Plus, but in the HTX again we get that LED. So here you can see halogen, reflector, bumper, fake exhaust, 4 parking sensors in the rear, and the exhaust tailpipe is hiding under there. Now we get a rear wiper, washer and a rear stop lamp, high mount stop lamp. Here we have the defogger. We get roof rails which are not functional, shark fin antenna and chrome handles with auto foldable ORVMs, and we don't get aero twin wipers in either of these cars. 2 washers. Now the Kia has a very soft Korean design, which all the Korean cars like Creta and Kia boast about, and they have a toned down version, but whereas the Elevate has a butch SUV stance, it has a flat bonnet, and from inside also you feel like you're driving a bigger car in a bigger segment, whereas the Kia has more curvy design. Now let's talk about the Honda Elevate. We have LED headlights, LED setup here with LED indicators, and these are fog lamps which are LED as well. The grille is glossy here with the big Honda logo right there, the radiator, and we have a skid plate right underneath which is part of an accessory. Now let's talk about the tire size of this vehicle. This gets a tire of 215/55 R17s and it gets Bridgestone tires, which is actually better for off-roading than Goodyear's. Now it also gets disc brake, but no disc brake in the rear, no disc brake setup in the rear, only drum brakes. Now there's a huge difference in the length of both these cars. The Kia Seltos has a length of 4360 millimeters, whereas the Honda Elevate has a length of 4312 millimeters. Honda calls this phenomena man maximum machine minimum. You will feel that Honda Elevate is more spacious inside and it has more space extracted out than the Kia Seltos. Now the width is similar as well. This is 10 millimeters longer, and the wheelbase is also class leading in the Honda Elevate with the class leading ground clearance of 220 millimeters, whereas it gets a ground clearance of 190 millimeter, and there's where the Honda plays the ultimate game. Now let's talk about the rear tail lamps of the Honda Elevate. We have LED setup here as well, but no LED setup for the indicator. Halogen for the reverse light as well. These are the reflector. Rear parking sensors, we get 4 of them, and the big Honda logo, reverse camera with wipers and defogger, shark fin antenna, not so functional roof rails. Now here we'll find out the exhaust tip, which is right there. The fuel tank capacity of the Honda Elevate is 40 liters, whereas the fuel tank capacity of the Seltos is 45 liters. On paper the boot space is bigger, not bigger actually, on paper the boot space is decent enough, but the Honda Elevate's boot space is well managed, way better managed than the Kia Seltos, and feels very cramped. Kushaq's boot space is also around 380 liters, but the way they have managed and maxed out the boot space, it's commendable by the German twins as well. Now let's talk about the interior. Now if we talk about the ingress of the Kia Seltos, it's pretty easy to get inside. I have good amount of knee room, and the footwear area is decent enough too. We don't have a big hump here, and we also get decent amount headroom, as you can see here, and no 3-point adjustable seat belts and no 3-point headrest in the rear, but we do get in the facelift variant. And we also I can see that the rear seat is a little bit wider than the Elevate, as I have a little more shoulder room here. The under thigh support is decent enough, but not that great, as you can see here. But the similar case in the Honda Elevate. These C segment SUVs don't provide you that great of an under thigh support, except the Korean brothers. We also get a cup holder, a bottle holder here, which cannot accommodate a bigger bottle, but it has a good depth here if we slant it down right here. And we also don't get any soft touch material here, which we would get in the HTX variant, as it has a leatherite upholstery right here. And here are the speakers. We also get a rear sunshade, which we don't get in the Honda Elevate, and that is a missing feature, of course, because it's so hot in the summers in India, so we do need this great feature, which the Korean brothers do give us that. Now let's talk about how easy it is to get in. And cabin lamps here, and grab handle with soft closure. Here we also have a hook to hold on to. Now let's talk about what we get in the door pads. We get leatherite finish here and leatherite finish here as well, with stitching. Here we get handles which are covered in not covered in chrome, but we can also see a visible screw there, which is part of a cost cutting by Honda. And we can also see tweeters here, so it gets a 8-speaker system with 4 tweeters. There's decent enough for 2 1-liter bottles here, so you can store a lot of stuff. We can also see that they don't give any illumination like they give in the Honda City. New variants of the Honda City, they give illumination in the window switches. Get inside the Honda Elevate, how easy it is and how's the ingress and egress. Now let's talk about the foot area. I'm getting decent amount of foot room and great knee room here, but the under thigh support is kind of lacking, but not as poor as the Kia Seltos. So I'm getting good under thigh support. The seat recline angle, we can't change that, but it's pretty decent. And if we talk about the armrest, usually in the Honda City, the armrest used to fall down on the seat, but they have corrected that in the Elevate. And there's a slight hump for the middle passenger. So if I'll be seated here with this hump, which is slight thick, so I won't be that comfortable for longer journeys. So this is a perfect car for 4 passengers, and the shoulder room is comparatively less than the Kia Seltos. And if we talk about the headroom, here you can see I have decent amount of headroom, and they have managed out the headspace really well. Now let's get in the front seat and talk about how's the seating position for the driver. We get single side request sensor on the driver side only, and let's get inside. Here we get chrome finish on the door handles, adjustable auto foldable mirrors and adjustable function as well. Door unlock. Only driver side window is one touch up and down, the rest are not. And we also get the other switches. Here we don't get a leather finish on the door pads. We get a speaker. We get 4 speaker system, but in the HTX variant we get Bose premium sound 8 speaker system. Now here we get the headlight leveler switch, the cabin illumination which we can control from here. We also get the engine start stop button. Here if we talk about the toggles, we get auto headlight function and also fog lamps, which are of course all LEDs in the Kia Seltos HTX variant. We get rear wiper and washer. Let's use the wiper and test the spray. The spray is decent. Now we'll talk about the steering controls. We have the audio controls right here. As you can see, this is the knurled finishing given by the Koreans, which is honestly degrading after 2 years of ownership. And this car has only clocked 35,000, as you can see here in the MID, 35,000 kilometers, but the finish is fading away. So this is the quality of Kia in general. Some points are good, but finishing, the silver finishing is not that great here. We get the cruise control switch, and here we get a small MID with a 7-inch touchscreen. The 7-inch touchscreen is not in the HTX variant. It gets a bigger one, the 10.25-inch touchscreen. It gets dual airbag, but in the HTX variant, you get 6 airbags. Here we have the manual AC controls, and we don't get an important feature here, which is the ventilated seat. So we are comparing the Elevate ZX variant with HTX only. So yes, it does get ventilated seats, and Elevate doesn't get that. Chrome tip for the handbrake and gear lever. This gets a 6-speed manual transmission. Here we get 2 USB-A charging ports and one 12-volt socket. Here's a cubby space to keep your phone, and it does not get a wireless charger. So we talked about the AC vent finish, which is in silver, and here we get a piano finish, which in Kia Seltos HTX we get a leatherite finish here. So there is some soft touch, hard plastics down here. The glove box is decent sized. Let's talk about IRVM, the inside rear mirror, and it does not get the auto dimming function, but again we get that in the HTX variant. Here no mirror, no light. We get a sunglass holder, which is a good touch, which is not there in the Honda Elevate. And we get cabin lamps, which are in halogen. Again in the HTX we get LED cabin lamps. Now let's talk about the adjustability of the seats. Here you can see I have the manual control. There are no electronically adjustable seats, so we don't get that in Honda Elevate as well. So that's not something that's missing in the Kia Seltos. And again we get an armrest with decent size space. It might be larger than the Honda Elevate space. We get 2 cup holders here, and also we get a handle to hold on if you feel like your car is gonna crash and the airbags are not gonna deploy. Screen, as you can see here, it's a 7-inch unit, but we get an elongated version of that, which is 10.25 inch in the Kia Seltos HTX as well. So you can see the screen is very fluid here. And here we are in the home. Let's listen to an audio right away, as we know that Korean do make good screens, or they source good screens. So let's hear an audio. Audio quality, as we just heard right now, is decent enough, but it gets a 6 speaker system, which includes the tweeters. In the HTX variant we also get a panoramic sunroof which extends till there, and this is a great feature which Kia Seltos boasts about, and we don't get that in the Honda Elevate, as it gets a single pane sunroof only. And these are the major features which are missing, like different from the HTX and the HTK Plus. In the cabin of the Honda Elevate, and AC is a chiller in this car. Now here we have the audio controls, we have the home button. The quality of these switches is much better than the Kia Seltos, and we have the calling functions here, Honda logo, and here we get adaptive cruise control, as we get ADAS in the Honda Elevate, which we don't get in the Kia Seltos, and we get that only in the GT variants, in the higher variants. So here we get ADAS as well. Now let's browse through the infotainment system, the instrument cluster, which is a 7-inch unit, half part digital, part analog. Here we get the tachometer, range and fuel, and we also get features like G meter, which we don't need in such type of cars, but it is a good feature to have. Now we can talk about the toggle switches. We get rear wiper and rear washer, as well as front washers have 3-speed. We get auto headlamp with follow me home headlamp function, and fog lamps as well. And we also get a pulsating red start stop engine button here in the Elevate. The positioning of this button is a little weird, but you will get used to it. The AC vents are not finished in any visible chrome here, only they are de-chromed. And if you can see here, we have Twitter's placement right here, and auto foldable adjustable mirrors. We also get a very important feature which I forgot to cover about, is this lane watch camera, which is a must-have feature a bigger car, because it covers the blind spot that the pillar creates while driving. So it's a good feature to have. It does not get a 360 setup, but lane watch camera is enough for that. We also get a DRVM while we are driving. We get what's going on behind the vehicle. And let's talk about the infotainment system now. The infotainment system in this car is slick to use. It's very slick to use, not as slick as the Korean, but it's very it's giving Koreans a run for their money now, because the Honda's infotainment screens were not that great, but Elevate's infotainment screen is a new unit, and Honda has specially made this new touchscreen, which is 10.25 inches. And here we can talk about the automatic climate control. We get max cool function here as well. We don't get dual zone climate control, which we do get in the new facelift of the Kia Seltos. Hazard light switch right here. And let's talk about the sunshade vanity mirror. We also get vanity mirror and a light. Here we get the controls for the sunroof, and we get a single pane sunroof with auto function. We'll just close that right now because of the heat dissipating inside the cabin. Now here we have auto dimming IRVM, and this auto dimming IRVM don't give you a USB-A charging port. We get a dedicated button for turning off and turning on the wireless charging, twin cup holders, and a handbrake, but no chrome tip. Armrest is decent sized, and the leather finish and the seats are very cushiony on this car. As you can see, I have decent amount of under thigh support here, unlike the rear seats. And also you can see you have a cubby space to get in your coins. Obviously it does not get a panoramic sunroof, which is a big miss in the Honda Elevate, but honestly you don't need that sunroof after 1 week, because it just brings in a lot of heat as we live in a hotter country. The bonnet is visible very clearly in this car. You get a good seating position, height adjustable, manually height adjustable function for the seats, and we don't get electrically adjustable seats. We also miss a very important feature in these summer heats, which is ventilated seats. We should have gotten some ventilated seat feature, and which the Kia Seltos obviously gets. We also get request sensor for both the handles. I'll show you request sensor here, and we also get a request sensor right here, which the Kia Seltos does not get. Now let's talk about the glove box. It is decent size. The glove box does not get the cooling function, but yes, it is decent size. This plastic feels a little scratchy, so yeah, Honda has done cost cutting again. And as you can see here, you see these visible screws. This is also in the Kia Seltos, but Honda brand is known for quality, so cutting costs right here is a little weird by Honda, and we do not expect that from Honda. Obviously we get handle for the driver side as well, which is indeed a good touch point. The best thing is seats about this vehicle. The seats are so comfortable, the headrest is so comfortable. We get adjustable headrest for the rear passenger. The middle passenger does not get a head, and also not
Talking about the grille, it gets null finish
now
on the
let's
chrome
talk
lining
about
and
how this
also the
vehicle
tiger
is
nose
to
grille.
drive, and see if this vehicle is actually as good as people on the internet are claiming it to be. Is the body roll well controlled or not? Now we'll drive the car and see how it feels to drive, how it feels in maneuverability, and how's the body roll and suspension of this car. So guys, we are here in the Kia Seltos, and we'll just see how the steering is to adjust. We get adjustment for up and down, but not for rake, so that's a miss in the Kia Seltos. We get a manual transmission, 6-speed gearbox, and we'll check the horn of the vehicle. The horn is very nice to hear, so let's start driving. And this car is powered by a 1.5 liter MPI engine, which is naturally aspirated, and it has a torque output of 144 Newton meters, and which is similar to the Honda Elevate, which get a torque output of 145 Newton meters. But the power specs are different. It gets a power of 113 bhp, and that Honda Elevate gets power of figure of about 121 bhp. So we are in the manual transmission right now, and this car isn't very punchy to drive as the IV Tech engines. Let's see how this car is in terms of maneuverability. So the steering is really light, but it's better than the Creta. In Creta I felt like it was very vague. The steering was very vague, but that's not the case here. And it would feel vague, a little vague to you, because they obviously manufacture the same parts, and I'm sure the steering rack would also be the same in this car. But here, if we talk about the body roll, now I'm lifting the car from the third gear, as you can see here, and it's taking decent amount of time even in the third gear. And if we talk about the body roll, here we take a turn. Yeah, there's good amount of body roll here, so much body roll, more than the Honda Elevate. It gets a ground clearance of 190 mm, not even 210 or 200 mm. So why does it have that amount of body roll? And the chassis is way stiffer, because the suspension feels stiffer as well. So there is no point, as there is this car does not get a sportier engine, so we don't know why there's such amount of body roll on offer. And this car is good for overtaking in city and for city traffic. The car is comfortable to drive, so that's why many people prefer this car these days. The Korean brothers, to be honest. The bonnet doesn't have that feel of a SUV, because the Honda Elevate's ride height is much better, and if we sit in the Honda Elevate, it feels much more like an SUV, like a bigger class SUV, for example the Ford Endeavour. And let's take this car on a rough patch now and see how does it perform while off-roading. Obviously this car gets a two-wheel drive setup, but we can see the suspension is obviously stiff. I can feel a lot of the bumps inside, and just hear the suspension noise now. Yeah, there you hear it. Also, there's a lot of creaking parts inside the cabin, like the ones here. And now I'll pull the car in the second gear. So there's no flat out spot in the car. There's no punchy feel, no sudden punch in the car even after the 3000 rpm. It does get the variable valve timing, VVT, which the Honda IV Tech is famous for, but the tuning is not very punchy as such. So yeah, that's missing in this car. And if we talk about coasting in the sixth gear, now I'll lift the car off from a speed of about 20 km/h. Now we'll put the car in fifth gear and we'll see. Yeah, the engine is vibrating and struggling here, which is not the case in the Honda Elevate, because it's such a refined motor, and the motor is not that refined. You won't hear the engine noise in the cabin as much as the Honda Elevates, but you will obviously hear a lot of tire noise, and obviously you won't the pillar doesn't create an obstruction of any sorts. And we can see the pillar is not as thick as the Honda Elevate. It does not get any lane watch camera as well. Horn feels good, and we'll use washer. There's the Honda Elevate doing the 0 to 100 test. The turning radius of the car is not as great as Honda Elevate again. The turning radius of Honda Elevate is 5.23 meters, which is class leading, I would say. And let's do a 0 to 100 test here as well. You can see the camera, the rear camera, gets adaptive guidelines, which is a good feature to have. Now let's do the 0 to 100 test. We don't get a traction control switch here, which we do get in the HTX model. So AC, will turn it off and revving the motor till 5500 rpm and off we go. A lot of body roll, 50 kilometers. So there was vertical movement. We'll test the braking right here too. The brakes don't feel sure-footed, but the brake bite is good. The brakes don't feel as sure-footed as the Honda Elevate, because Honda's driving dynamics are so much better than the Koreans or any other car. Now we saw that this car does 0 to 100 in about 11 or 12 seconds, but honestly, if you're buying an SUV, 0 to 100 or that acceleration doesn't matter to you. But yes, you do need that quick acceleration when you're overtaking any vehicle. And yeah, the brakes don't feel that sure-footed again. See, the suspension is stiff. You can hear the suspension noise as well. And the power is very linear throughout, so you won't feel a very flat out spot or a very kick in the pants feel in this engine. We have another Kia Seltos right there. What is this guy doing? Anyway, it does not get a quick response on the throttle even after the 3000 rpm hit. Again, the steering is very light to use, very easy for someone who needs a car for point A to point B, to travel from point A to point B, and they don't need much power from the car. And there is a weird thing which I noticed in this engine, which is the turbo lag. As I was shifting from first to second, I felt like there was a turbo lag. Maybe it's because the clutch is sensitive, but yeah, I did felt that turbo lag in the lower range, and in the mid range obviously it's not really offering that much power. So yeah, in the low end it did have decent amount of lag. So we'll just go on some speed bumps. Yeah, there's good amount of body roll on this car. Now let's talk about the wind noise. You won't obviously hear the wind noise much into the cabin, but yes, the tire noise creeps inside the cabin, and I feel like that is really about how well the insulation is done in the cabin, and we really can't also complain about that, because at this price point you might get some misses out on the features, and it does not get a very it gets very floating hatchback style bonnet. Like, it does not get a flat out bonnet like the Honda Elevate's bonnet. There's another rival of the Kia Seltos, Creta. So it does not get much of that butch SUV feel, but yeah, it is a easier car to drive in the city, so city maneuverability is good. And as we just showed you that this car is not capable of high speed, because I think the body roll would increase as we go to the higher speeds, and the steering also doesn't give you much feel and feedback on higher speeds. So this was the review of the Kia Seltos. So now we are in the Honda Elevate, and to turn off the hazard light, and we'll go on a short drive and see how the car handles, how the car drives on a highway, and we'll check whether there's good amount of body roll. So now we are cruising in 5th gear, and we are at a speed of 60 km/h. Honda has just outplayed everyone in terms of suspension. See, there was a bad patch of road and I feel like I glided all over it. Honda has done such a brilliant job in the driving dynamics. The steering is so good to hold. It weighs up decently at higher speeds. There's the lane watch camera, as you can see, and the steering holds up decently well at higher speeds, and it's so light at lower speeds. So the steering does not have that gimmicky feel which I was talking about in the Hyundai Creta. The Elevate, being an SUV with about 220 millimeters of ground clearance and absolutely 0.5% of body roll, that means the body roll is so well controlled. The tuning is just on another level of this car. Now there is this in-gear acceleration noise. If I want the car, yeah, between, now it's not coming right now, but if I'll get in the 3rd gear, you will hear that in-gear acceleration noise, which definitely is not an IV-Tech characteristic, but yeah, here you can that noise. Yeah, as soon as it comes in the power band, as soon as the IV-Tech starts to wake up, you will definitely feel the power of this engine. Seating position is just so good. Like, I feel like I'm sitting in a segment above car, like I'm sitting in a Fortuner or an Endeavour, definitely, because this flat bonnet makes me point the vehicle anywhere. I can point the vehicle anywhere and it will go there. That's the level of confidence this seating position is giving me. And we definitely have ADAS in this car. I can show you how the ADAS will work above the speeds of 70 km/h. But yeah, this engine is so refined at lower speed. Now if I want to cruise in 6th gear, and we'll see, we'll just test out how the car will pull through in a higher gear. So smooth, it's pulled so smoothly. You can just skip 1 or 2 gears, and from 4th you can put on the 6th gear. That's the level of refinement in this engine, in this 1.5 liter IV-Tech DOHC motor. Earlier it used to come with a single overhead camshaft in the 3rd generation and the 4th generation of the City, but with the 5th generation Honda City 2020 model, they have changed that. And yes, you do feel the VTEC kicking in. There is no body roll. I can feel this amount of body roll even in my Honda City. So I think the Honda Elevate has done a great job. Honda has done a great job in tuning of this car. The suspension and the driving dynamics are obviously, they are just a notch above the Korean brothers and Toyota and Maruti as well. So yeah, Honda has outplayed everyone. I'll say that again and keep saying that again. Yeah, there are some disappointing factors of this car, like you don't get ventilated seats, but hey, who is gonna think about that when you can do this with your car? It is indeed a fun to drive SUV. Now we'll test the brakes. Yeah, the brakes are the brake bite is good enough. It comes in early, and according to me, the brakes are more sure-footed than the Hyundai Creta's brakes, but not as sure-footed as the Skoda Kushaq or the VW Taygun's brakes. And yeah, the Hyrider's suspension is just on another level. The Hyrider takes on bad roads easily. So if Hyrider is a 20, this is a 19. This is my opinion. The horn sounds really good. And now, okay, we can see we are in a traffic jam, so we'll just crawl along in the second gear at a speed of 7 kilometers per hour. Now I'll put on the fifth gear directly from the fifth gear, and yeah, the car is lifting up on a hill, like it's a slope, and the car is lifting up easily in that gear. So now I've put on the sixth gear. Yes, there is that in-gear acceleration noise, but you will get used to it. And I think the engine needs to open up, and the engine needs to serve a good 1,000 kilometers, and then this noise would be less heard. And we can see that there's this driver rear view monitor to see if there's any car behind you. This has been my review of the Honda Elevate. If you want a car with a decent, reliable engine, with a good power pickup, and you want a naturally aspirated engine, and you don't want the turbocharged engines that many other brands are offering us, and if you want a good handling SUV, you should definitely go for this car. This has been it. So guys, we did a good comparison on the Elevate and the Kia Seltos, but in the end we can progressively say that Honda Elevate is a better build than the Kia Seltos, because obviously this got 3 stars in the latest GNCAP crash test rating, and the safety on this car is a question mark. It's obviously a question mark on this too, but this is a tested platform of the Honda City's platform, and the Ace body structure, which they call it, and I'm sure it might get 5 stars, and we can also say that this is a much punchier engine than the Kia Seltos, but this car offers you variety of features. If you need ventilated seats, if you need a panoramic bigger sunroof, so yeah, this car is to go. And if you need reliability, which the Honda offers you till you sell the car, like even if you keep this car for 15-20 years, it will still work the same for you. And that's my verdict, that if you really want an SUV, a proper SUV in the road presence of the car and the feel and the ride height, then you should go for the Elevate. But if you want a more softer car for easier commute and for more comfortable driving, honestly, comfort in the Honda Elevate is unmatched as well, because the seats are so comfortable, it sinks you in, and the steering feedback, the driving dynamics are so good, and the body roll on this car, even though having a ground clearance of 220mm, the body roll is well contained, which is not the case in the Kia Seltos. But yeah, that's my verdict for both of these cars. We'll see you in another video. Until then, subscribe to the channel.